Oh, did I mess it?
All right. All right, guys, we're back with another episode. It is the new year. Taylor and I, as physical therapists, we've been seeing a lot more new patients the last few weeks with everything kind of settling down from the holiday season. So we're going to talk about a couple things that we've been noticing, trends we've been noticing in physical therapy, and how that can relate to someone who may be seeking out help from either a professional or trying to figure things out on their own. So Taylor, at the Palisades Park location, what kind of things have you been noticing, trends, injuries, and stuff like that?
I mean, I'm seeing all kinds. I mean, I'm seeing all different ages, different sports, no sports, a lot of inactivity, injuries, static injuries. So a very varied amount. And I think right now this is the time when the winter time, I guess just people are like, they're prone for injuries. So we're seeing a lot of different kinds. I'd say sport more common is probably, I'm going to say low back. Low back pain has been very common because of the, just everybody's a little more static these days. And so not as much movement going on. And then maybe running, a lot of good amount of running. I think it's just people are getting prepared for the running season in a couple of months. And they got, I think, a handful locally here are signed up for some a marathon. I think Jersey City. I forget which one that they signed up for. But they're prepping for that, and they're doing it in the cold, and trying to get their runs in, and definitely seeing some running injuries.
Yeah, I think I've seen a good amount of running injuries in the last few weeks. Decent amount of shoulders too. A lot of people kind of getting back into the swing of things with either New Year's resolutions or getting back into the gym after holiday season. So a lot of overuse injuries, particularly for the upper extremity and the shoulder.
A lot of benching.
So I mean, with those injuries, I think typically, those could be the most, I would say, frustrating for a lot of patients, those overuse injuries, because usually there's not any one specific thing that kind of sets it off. It's just starts off as like a little ache and pain, and then in a lot of cases it kind of gradually gets worse.
Yeah, and I think the other misconception that people have is that when they have an injury, they go to their primary care physician and they're like, oh, just don't do anything for a month, that type of thing. But I don't think that's necessary. I think oftentimes that could be counterproductive as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think, the whole misconception about injuries is that you need to, rest until you feel better. But unfortunately, that doesn't solve all your issues. A lot of people don't rest enough in terms of like reducing their capacity, reducing their volume of their, workouts or whatever. And some people just try to rest too much.
Yeah, I don't think it needs to be all or none.
Yeah, I think it's very important for people to understand that, rest is a relative thing. Like if you're working out 4 or 5, 6 times a week and you develop an overuse injury, you definitely need to kind of taper back a little bit and maybe, continue your training by modifying certain things to train around the pain rather than just continue to push through it. And I think on the other side of the spectrum, when you have people who are just very inactive and let's say like a New Year's resolution, or they start going to the gym again and they hit real hard and then they crash and burn, and then all of a sudden they're out for another month, and they have this kind of notion of well, last time I worked out I got injured, I don't want that to happen again, so I'm just either going to take it super easy and really not push myself, or I'm just going to stop altogether. And I think that brings up more issues down the road as well.
Yeah.
So as a physical therapist, what's a super practical way that you can get into like your New Year's resolutions, like working out and stuff like that? What's like something that you can start small and then kind of build up? Like how would you program that?
Well, I think it depends on what the goals of the specific person are, as well as kind of what activities they're looking to do. If you're just someone who's looking to go into the gym and kind of do free weights machines, like just kind of finding a very simple training program, or even seeking out either like a personal trainer or coach to kind of guide you through the different exercise and movements so you don't hurt yourself. If you're doing something maybe along the lines of running, finding a training program to kind of ramp that volume, and not just going from sitting on your butt for the last 2-3 months to trying to go out and run 5 miles.
So maybe something like incline walking on a treadmill or something like that to start off to like you know, gradually get
Yeah,
your
or
cardio
even
up.
just like a, you know, a jog walk. Like there's plenty of, you know, couch to 5K programs out there, you know, free resources out there for people who are just kind of looking to get started somewhere. But I would say if you have, you know, very specific goals, like you should be seeking out somebody, whether it's a personal trainer, you know, online coach, to really get a personalized plan and, you know, for where you're at.
I think there's like two things that you should remember. Is like intensity, right? So if you dive in and you're too intense, then you're going to increase your risk for injury, right? And the other thing is just volume. You know, if you do too much, you know, you don't have to be going too intense. But if you're like obsessed all of a sudden, you get this whole New Year's resolution kick, then you start, you know, trying to do 10 miles every single day. It might catch up to you. So I think intensity, watch out for it. Be incremental and progressive, you know, with intensity. But the second thing is just vary it up a little bit. You know, don't get too into one thing only, and just be obsessing over that. Just to mix it up a little bit. If you're going to run a little bit, but then do some lifting, do some, you know, other things, so that you're not just having too much volume.
Yeah, I would say going along the lines of that is also like, you know, if you're like most people now and you're kind of on social media a lot, right? And you're maybe dealing with, you know, a little something in the shoulder, or you started developing something, you know, as a runner. You know, there's a lot of influencers that that can claim that you do these 3 simple exercises and your pain is going to be gone, right? Now I know you've seen a lot of them, and I know you have a big issue with, you know, a lot of those kind of posts. Tell me a little bit from perspective of a physical therapist. What are the biggest things to watch out for with those kinds of posts? Because it's not only from, you know, personal trainers, fitness influencers, but there's a lot of physical therapists that kind of post that stuff too.
Well, I think there's an ethical dilemma. If you're a physical therapist, you're held up to a little higher standard than I think fitness professionals. And so, excuse me, I think that you need to make sure that if you're a physical therapist, you got to kind of like look at yourself and like be like, hey, why am I putting out this information? If it's just for the sake of like followers and potential income in the form of, you know, slightly questionable ways of attracting them, then I think you really need to check yourself. But if you're putting it out there because you genuinely help someone, and you're putting out some general information, and you're putting disclaimers out there saying that it's general information, this is not a cookie-cut solution to all your knee pain or back pain or neck pain or shoulder pain, then I think it's fine, you know. But I think that's where the questionable nature of all of this kind of comes in when it comes to social media, is that a lot of people are kind of treading on in waters that is quite questionable. And you know, I think it's kind of a rogue, wild, wild west world of social media that kind of could put out misinformation, as well as produce a lot of misconceptions in the people that are reading it. The average folk that it's, you know, they're reading it and they're watching it, and they could be taking away some potentially injurious information for them. And so I think that's the key thing, is to be a little more deciphering, as you know, because you are a consumer. Even social media now is it's a major method of selling products and services, right? And so I think as a consumer, you have to be deciphering as if you were going into a store. You wouldn't just buy the first thing, right? You'd be researching and reviewing, you know, making sure that you know things are of quality service and product, right? It's the same thing with, I think, social media. You have to kind of do your homework too. With AI and everything, there's plenty of ways to do your homework, and so make sure you are educating yourself and deciphering what's good and what's not.
So you're speaking more so from the patient's point of view, but what about from the physical therapist's point of view? What's a way that they can do social media the right way? How can they do that the right way?
You know, I don't even know. I mean, I don't even know what I'm watching sometimes on social media, and I'm like, I don't know if this is AI. I don't know if this is an actual physical therapist. I don't know if this is a qualified personal trainer. You know, marketing is so amazing in you know, creating a picture of something that could be very convincing, even to a deciphering eye. And so I think, you know, as a physical therapist, you know, I think you have to just kind of, you got to check yourself. You got to hold yourself to a certain standard of like trying to provide service and care. Because that's what you should be doing if you're putting out information out there. And if you are putting out information that is very general and kind of labeling it as general, a solution to a lot of different things, then I'm going to say that you are definitely violating ethics, as well as possibly you could get in legal trouble with that as well. So,
Yeah, I think as a healthcare professional posting on social media, I think you really have to check your morals in what you're posting, the content of it, especially if you are making these outrageous, crazy promises, or being maybe a little bit deceitful in your marketing tactics. Like Taylor said, I think that really treads some very gray waters when it comes to ethics. And if you come across as a patient any of these posts where it's like, this is the only method that you need to do, or I promise if you work with me for the next 4 weeks you'll be pain free, like that, your red flag meter should be going off, right? Because there's nothing, especially in the healthcare industry, there's nothing that is 100% certain, right? There's nothing that is, hard deadline, this is when you're going to get better if you be consistent with this. Like, everybody's different. Everybody responds different to treatment. Everybody has different impairments, and they respond to treatment, in different ways and different timelines. And I think as a healthcare professional, if you're making those promises, like, you're a garbage person.
Okay.
Straight up. Like, all you care about is getting that person's credit card, and you don't really, like, making them better is a secondary thing, because guess what? If they don't get better within those 4 weeks, oh, okay, well, we had some mishaps, we had some setbacks, but if you sign up for another 4 weeks, I'll give you 50% off, just because, we didn't make it work this first 4 weeks, right?
I'm going to go a little bit on the soapbox right now. I promise, I'll keep it short, okay? But yeah, that's been a little bit of my pet peeve in the sense that I think as a profession of physical therapy, we have completely sold out overall. And I could say this because I've been in it for, I don't even know, 25 years now. And I've seen the decline of our ethics as well as our quality of care. And I've seen a lot of things come back into our world of physical therapy that have already been proven to be completely ineffective, but we're doing it because we're completely selling out, and we're trying to sell things and sell services that really make money and that just kind of appease human beings, because that if you appease the people, they'll give you money. And so I just think that it's been very disappointing to witness in our profession, and I don't know if I see it improving anytime soon. I think it's become like a norm, especially with these cash-based practitioners and licensed people. That I think that's another animal that I think that they're gonna really produce a decline of this profession, and they don't know how much damage they're causing to payer relationships as well as even themselves and patients. I think they're robbing patients as well.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing too, is that a lot of those therapists that are cash based and one-on-one, whether it's virtual, in home, in a a standalone clinic. A lot of them make claims on their websites, their marketing materials, that one-on-one physical therapy is like better care, more quality care, when in reality that's not true. Like, you can have a really dumb, crappy physical therapist spend an hour with a patient and get absolutely nothing done over the course of 4 weeks, right?
Yeah, just rub lotion, massage, modalities, and fill up 2 hours. I mean,
or you could go to a physical therapist who actually, goes through evidence, listens to the patient,
saves
provides
you time.
what works best for that patient, addresses their actual root cause of their, issue, addresses their impairments. But they might be, booking multiple patients within that same hour, but that patient gets way better quality of care because of the fact that you have somebody who actually knows what they're doing, right? More time one-on-one does not necessarily equal better care. And I think that's, unfortunately, a lot of cash and one-on-one therapists are trying to exploit, because a lot of people probably had bad experiences at clinics that booked multiple patients within the same hour because they were getting the same cookie cutter exercises, same sheet of paper that's given to everybody with a knee problem, right? So those clinics got a bad rap, and as they should, because if you're giving the same exercise for 5 different patients with a very similar but not the same issue, then you are part of the problem as well, right? But I think as a patient, when you're looking for a provider, looking for, a practitioner, DPT to work with, one-on-one is not always going to be better care. And I think a lot of people still don't seem to understand that.
Well, the other thing is that right now, I think that's what they're teaching them in schools, that's like, you should do that and whatever. And then also these kids are watching social media,
Right.
and they're graduating with no experience. They're just graduating from grad school. And they just open up these practices, and they do this whole one-on-one thing. But first of all, experience, there's so much value to experience, real experience, not clinicals, not a year of experience. No, I'm talking years of experience. And if you don't have that, I don't know as a patient why you would go to a PT like that and dish out $300 for a one-on-one session, because they don't have the experience to be on their own in a facility of their own, and be able to fill up an hour and a half, whatever, 2 hours that they're marketing and providing care, and to actually give the type of quality and that a patient could benefit in the long term. And so I think there's a lot of short-term things being done because it's marketable and it does sell to the patient, and they do feel a little better in the immediate sense. But in the long term, I don't think a lot of those things even benefit the patient at all. Yeah.
So if you, were explaining to somebody, maybe a prospective patient, what they should be looking out for in terms of finding a physical therapist, let's say, to use that example, what would you say are like your top 3 things that you would give that person advice? Let's say they don't live in the area, but they were, looking for physical therapists around the area that they lived in.
Well, first and foremost, you got to look at the background of the actual PT. Like if they are recently grads and they have their own practice, I'd question that. I would 100% question it. I don't care how smart you think you are. If you do not have experience, you don't have experience, period. And so that would be it, number 1. Number 2, I would say that if you see that on the website, on the social media, whatever, and there's just a lot of marketing going on, I'd be definitely questionable with that, because of the fact that I think that, like if you're of quality, I don't know if you necessarily need to do so much marketing, because what patients do is when they come to you, they already know. They just know. Smart consumers and deciphering patients know right away if you're knowledgeable, you're experienced, and you know what you're doing. And they will definitely want to bring their family and friends. And they will invite them, they will refer, and you almost don't need to market, okay? And then third, you gotta see results, long term. If you're seeing immediate results, by the time you come back to the PT in the next session, you're in the same state of discomfort, symptom, and injury, then it didn't do anything for you. You just basically, like you got Bengay on you, and then it numbs it out or whatever, and then 2 hours later, it's still there, right? And so if they're not really getting to the root, they're not addressing the actual issue at hand that needs to be addressed, but they're just kind of, putting nice shiny things on top of it, then I think that you got to question that, and you have to look for something better, because that's not it, and you're wasting money and you're wasting time, and you're getting scammed, in my opinion.
What do you say we get a little controversial? Is that okay?
Let's do it.
Can we Can we call out some names? Is that
Well, that's
something we can do? Is that too?
Like,
Can we call people
I don't
out
even
here,
know,
or like social media, or even like I don't know, like PT offices? Is that too controversial?
That come to mind, but I won't call. Ryan's like, don't
Yeah,
do
well,
it,
maybe-
Taylor.
yeah,
Don't
no,
do it.
no.
It's not worth it?
Yeah, it's not worth it.
Okay.
It's
I
not
don't need to do it.
They know who they
know
are.
who they are.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. They're not that dumb. Yeah.
Yeah, but going off of that, I think to kind of wrap it all up and put our own flair on it. I feel like with Maven, it's very different with physical therapy, especially because we're not like these other clinics where we're just trying to sell them a service. After they come in the door, like we're not trying to set them up for like, buy this package of 6 sessions of whatever modality we have, or 10 session package of massage or whatever. Like if you're coming here for physical therapy, you're coming here for physical therapy to get better than you were before you got injured, and then move on to whatever you want to. Like we're not necessarily trying to sell you a service when you leave, when you come in. We're here to sell you physical therapy, and we're here to sell you a better short-term future in terms of getting back to the things you want to do.
Results, yeah.
Right. Whereas a lot of these other clinics, they're just trying to basically just upcharge you every chance that they get.
Yeah, like this morning I saw two patients, two new evaluations. I saw a lot of patients, but two new evaluations. And every single, and those are just two, but every single new patient that I've ever evaluated in the last 20 years, what I lead with, okay, or no, what I end the evaluation with is this. I go, if you need to have, within 6 to 8 sessions, I want you to have noticeable changes, good changes to your impairment and symptom status, okay? If you don't have noticeable change within 6 to 8 sessions, then I have to rethink everything, or I may have to conclude that I cannot help you. I tell it to every single patient.
That's good.
Okay? Because if you don't do that as a physical therapist and you think you cure everybody and you're telling everybody that you cure them, you are scamming and you are a fraud. That's not how healthcare works. Okay? Or you're delusional. Is that you have to let the patient know, because some of these patients trust anybody who has letters after their name or is wearing a coat, white coat, and they just trust. And what they do is they just come endlessly. The amount of stories I've heard of patients I evaluate, they come in, they went to a chiro for 10 years with no relief. They went to a physical therapist for 3 years, 3 times a week, where everything's exhausted. They started paying out of their own pocket. I don't know why patients do this without thinking, but they do. And they come to me and they tell me these stories, and I go, you went to a physical therapist for 6 months, 3 times a week, and you did not see noticeable improvements. And they go, yeah, I just did it. I just went because they told me to keep coming. And I go, it's beyond me. Like, I don't understand how a physical therapist could care so little about the patient or their level of care that they could let a patient come for 6 months with no relief whatsoever, no benefit whatsoever. And the patient, too. How could you go to any medical anybody for 6 months and get no relief, spend all that money on copays, all that time? Was it a social environment? You just love hanging out with the PT or the people there? I don't know. Like, I don't know why, or maybe you need some counseling up here, but like, why would you go to a PT for 6 months with no relief? Zero. Beyond me. But it's both ways. A PT, I can't believe they do stuff like that, and there are plenty of PTs that do that because they don't care about their job. They just want to take home the paycheck, and that's it, right? And then you got patients, the same thing. Like, they just trust anybody with the white coat. The amount of times I've had people say, I take this medication, and I go, what are you taking? They go, I don't know.
I don't know, I just got prescribed it.
I don't know. The doctor told me to take it. I go, beyond me. It's crazy to me, crazy. But that's it. I think patients kind of, a lot of times, lack the common sense and logic, and then PTs, they're not very ethical or legal, in my opinion. Many of them are extremely fraudulent, scammy, and cheesy, and not very bright.
What's an example? I'm sorry, last question for me, for both of you guys. What's an example where you guys had a patient and they were here for whatever amount of time, and then you said this person's issue or their injury or whatever is beyond me, where it's like you can't deal with it and you have to pass them off to whoever else is that next person in the healthcare industry? Do you guys have an example of that?
I mean, I think most recently that I can remember, I evaluated a patient. I won't go into any specifics, but during their evaluation, when I was doing some tests, some came back positive that were a little bit alarming in terms of, I was concerned about their possible cardiovascular health. So basically, immediately after the eval, I was like, hey, listen, I would love to help you with, what you have going on symptom-wise, but before we go any further, for your own health and safety, I really need you to go to, a cardiologist and get some further testing done. So that way I know I'm not going to put you in any, further, danger, risk. And we can continue with, the plan that we need to set forth.
For me, more common than actually referring them to somebody. If I give them, and I sense that it's not an issue that could be resolved through a specialist, right? Sometimes what I have to let them know is that, this is something that you may have to deal with. It's a real talk that happens that, with certain people that have certain injuries. And you might avoid that because that's not you never want to be the one to tell somebody that I can't help you. Like, that's not a good feeling as a provider, right? But I mean, I've been doing it long enough now. I'm able to have those conversations with patients and say, hey, I can't help you. I can't help you. And I don't know if there's other medical professionals that could actually help you with this situation now. I think this is something that you're gonna have to manage.
Like chronic issues.
Yeah, you're gonna have
Yeah,
to
I think
manage. You're gonna
perfect example would be like chronic knee arthritis.
Okay.
Like you're not gonna solve knee arthritis without getting a knee replacement.
Right.
Like you're either gonna deal with it or you're just gonna bite the bullet and get it replaced.
I actually, one of those conversations actually happened with an evaluation I had with a patient who just had a baby. She had extreme postpartum depression. You could see it. As she's talking to me, she's tearing up, telling about her state of, she's almost in a state of like helplessness. Like, I don't bid her end. My husband is always traveling, always working. I don't know what to do with this baby. My body's hurting, it's broken down from the pregnancy. I don't know what to do. And she's literally on tears. I'm evaluating her for knee pain. And I just had to stop and I just go, I'll say, Mrs. Lee, my last name is Lee. I'll be like, Mrs. Lee, I think you should consider getting some counseling. And I said very quietly, discreetly, and she was like, counseling, she's like, how do I do that? How do I make time for this? And I would go, well, first of all, and I gave her some resources. There's an app. You could have all these counselors, and you could pick, and you could try different ones, and you put the insurance information, literally a 10-minute deal, and you can have an appointment, and it's Zoom. You could do it from home. And I go, and she did it. She's like, oh my God, thank you. She came back to the next session, smiling, happy, and then she didn't even have the session yet. She said it was so easy. She scheduled an appointment with a counselor through this app, and she's so excited to go and have this appointment with this person, and she feels like it's gonna be, and she almost felt like it was like night and day how much optimism she had, and she felt like, wow, there was like light at the end of the tunnel that I'm gonna do physical therapy now, I'm gonna have counseling. She's like, finally I could take care of myself, and it was something that, beyond physical therapy, I was like, I felt more helpful to her that I was able to help her with this app thing than the actual physical therapy. And that was an incident. And then another one that I just want to mention with the, I don't know if this has to do with it, but as far as our Maven physical therapy, right? And just to give you an example, like we have and I won't name names, but we have a hospital for special surgery surgeon that is very reputable. And she only sends her special cases to us. In the sense that when she says special, it means that she has sent them to their network of physical therapists, an HSS network, and she knows they cannot handle it. And so she only sends the ones that haven't been able to see any kind of benefit, any improvement in their status. And they're usually very high-end athletes, and people who are extremely active, and they're just dealing with this chronic thing that it just doesn't seem to resolve. She sends them, and we've had a handful of patients from her be referred. She directly refers them to Maven, and only Maven, from New York City. And it's because she is a deciphering physician who actually cares about her patients, and she recognizes the fact that Maven is the highest quality out there, and that we are not in it to just chase after people's money or to just poop foo-foo stuff all over the patient so that they just feel good short term. She knows that we will dissect this patient issue, and we will get to the bottom of it, and if we cannot handle it, if the special force, physical therapy, team cannot handle, then she doesn't know what PT can handle it. And I love the fact that we have physicians like this, and we don't go and beg. We don't go around and beg, for referrals to physicians. We never have. And the reason why we don't do that is because we want to be peers with the physicians. We want to be peers with the surgeons, understand that we know what we know, and we do what we do well, really well, and they do what they do, and they do it well, and they know what they know, right? And so we have this relationship. They respect us. We obviously respect them, right? And we have this referral, mutually respecting, mutual referral relationship that I think is very healthy, and it should be like that in healthcare. Then healthcare works. But when we tread the water of unethical behavior by going and buying massages for physicians and buying lunches and whatever to go and send pretty marketing people to market to and kiss up to the office managers in this physician's offices and kiss ass, then of course you're going to get patients, right? You're going to get patients. That's how human being works. That's how marketing works. But we've never done that. We've never done that because, first of all, I think that's cheesy, it's a little scummy, and it's scammy, and it's weird. It's just weird, flat out weird. And so what we do is we look for these physicians that recognize quality and want to partner with quality for the ultimate benefit of helping that patient. And we've done it, and we've done it for many years, and we're going to stick to that at least until I'm done here, and that's it, and that's how it's going to go. And so, yeah.
All right, so we kind of bounced around a lot with our topics, but from both of us, and I'll start with you, what is one takeaway if you had to say like one sentence for somebody listening to take away from this episode regarding everything we talked about?
You, sir.
You want me to start? All right. I would say if you're a patient, really watch out for who you're going to get your physical therapy. Really decipher, like that was a word that we heard a lot. Decipher who does quality physical therapy. I would say that's the sentence for me.
Be your own advocate as far as patients go. If you're just be your own advocate, right? To be a little more self-critical of the decisions you are making. Okay, it's like, for instance, like if your tendency is just to trust everyone with the white coat, don't stop doing that, because one of the most fraudulent, scammy, illegal people out there are wearing white coats and suits.
Yeah.
Okay, like you have to be deciphering. You have to question them because they are driving Mercedes and living in big homes and all that stuff. There's a reason a lot of times why they do that. It's because they are going to tread on certain things. Not only all successful and ethical people are successful in healthcare or in business. Okay, so you have to be more deciphering. Be much more of an advocate for for what you get in services, and don't just automatically trust people that look trustworthy. Okay, just let go. Look at their background. Look at their reviews. Question them. Question everything that they do. And if they get annoyed at you because you question them, move on. Yeah.
All right, that was a really long sentence. I would say my biggest takeaway is that there's never a one-size-fits-all in terms of physical therapy or even medical treatment for that matter.